Okay, before we get started, this is going to be like how it was when I did Sonic.exe round 2 last year. I am just reading it, not giving a shit. So, there's a flashing warning sign right here for a reason, just to let you know, I am not giving a shit about the story. So, if you haven't read the title, we are reading Jeff the Killer versus Michael Myers. Just the name itself sounds like we're going to have a great time. So let's begin, shall we? This crossover is set 8 years after the original Jeff the Killer story. Jeff is now 21, and 12 years later after the events of Halloween Resurrection. Michael's age is unknown. Let's see, 1978, he was 21. So he would be around, actually around 30, around 40 actually? Or for yeah, he'd be close to 40. Alright, so aside from that, let's see how this goes. It had been 8 years since Jeff ended the lives of his family. We just saw that in the beginning. He remembered all 3 of their screams as if he just murdered them the night before. He now wore the scars on his face without the slightest care in the world. Oh, okay. He had no idea that his life of crime was about to begin. Wait. It's been 8 years and now he's saying that it's just beginning? What? He was trying to find a hideout due to him now being on the run. The fun was only just about to begin. This is not gonna be fun. Oh my, we're only on the first paragraph. And I don't know why I'm losing it. This is just gonna be ridiculous. I don't know. About 5 miles away, an armored truck was roaming the cold, wet streets. This truck was holding one of the deadliest criminals known to man, Michael Myers. How do you catch Michael Myers? Like, the only time that they were able to catch Michael Myers was in Halloween 5 and in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and both of those didn't end up so well. Myers was wearing spruce green over coveralls and a white mask with maddened brown hair. Aren't his coveralls usually blue? Or in Rob Zombie's case, they were like a light brown. And I kind of would have found it funnier if they said, oh, it's the William Shatner mask. You know, the original was the William Shatner mask, so I think that would have been a little more funny. There were also 2 guards in the truck. They were taking Myers to a heavily protected asylum where they would keep him there until the day he died. They tried that before, and look how that turned out. Michael had been waiting patiently for 5 unbroken hours of silence until the truck hit an adult deer, and the vehicle crashed into the now abandoned home of Jeff's now deceased family. Like, how convenient can that be for him to just automatically go to the abandoned home that Jeff's family was in, and somehow, just by a sheer luck, he just ends up at Jeff's house. The rear doors flung open as Michael Myers broke free of the truck's containment. Both of the guards were dead. Myers took no notice of his surroundings and instead walked into Jeff's abandoned home. Oh, jeez. Again, it's just a sheer coincidence that there's an adult deer coming in and they both die, and Myers is just finds Jeff's house. He just finds Jeff's house right there, so we have a reason for this to happen. When Myers entered Jeff's home, he surveyed each room with high accuracy. It's like, is he throwing himself at each part of the house with high accuracy to know exactly what's in the house? Until he found the kitchen. Myers looked all over for a knife that he could start using soon. As soon as he found one, he knew his reign of terror would begin again. The clock struck midnight. It was now the 31st of October. It was Halloween. Oh, timing, everyone. Timing. It was a cold, crisp October morning. Children were all up early with their families trick-or-treating as children do on Halloween. So wait. Everyone's up early trick-or-treating? So everyone's waking up at 6 a.m. going trick-or-treating. I don't think that's how it works, because people are still trying to get up when it's 6 a.m. Usually people are waiting for like close to evening to go trick-or-treating, but early in the morning, oh, you got that early bird special. However, this year, evil itself was amongst them. Amongst all the excitement, the person used amongst twice already. One young woman who used black contact lenses to hide her true eyes was watching from an isolated room. The woman in question was Jane Arkansas. I think someone's been watching Hannah Montana, am I right? Otherwise known as Jane the Killer. Jane had been living under a strong state of fear for the last 8 years of her now shattered existence. This was mainly due to events involving Jeff. Oh man. Jane watched over the excited children with a strong feeling of fear and sadness, as she knew that Jeff would somehow find her, and when he did, she would be ready for him. Meanwhile, on the cold streets, Michael was consuming the pavements. He's eating the cement he's eating the sidewalk? Like, how is he has to have a mouth like Pac-Man to consume the pavement. Can you just imagine Michael Myers' head doing the waka sound every time he's eating the sidewalk? With his scent of pure evil, spelled with S-E-N-T, it's missing that C, and I didn't know you could smell evil. I mean, unless you haven't showered for like 3 weeks, then yeah, you definitely smell of evil. In his mind, Myers knew that he would be very hard to determine as a homicidal maniac, since 9 teenagers were wearing a similar costume to him, presumably for harmless scare pranks. Well, that's what happens when you're a popular serial killer, know what I mean? Myers then walked near a fairly small home and stopped in his tracks. The home in question belonged to Jane, and she looked out the window. Michael then turned his head very slowly, like 5 hours later, and was staring directly at Jane. When Jane saw Michael, he sent strong and sharp chills down her spine. Jane then shut the curtain to stop the shape from staring at her. Michael then turned his head forward and continued walking through the cold autumn streets. You think if Michael had his target set, like if you watch the original movie, you'd know that he's stalking Jamie Lee Curtis, and then he's just waiting for the right time to strike. With that, it's like he had the right opportunity to just like go, because it makes it sound like he found a target already. And usually the shape is the person wearing the mask. But right now, throughout the entire thing, as what we read, you named him Michael. You got to make up your mind here, buddy. Inside the home, Jane was having very frightening flashbacks of her first encounter with Jeff the Killer, thanks to Michael. That sounds very racist. Is it because they both have white faces? It was 4 hours to midnight when Jeff the Killer finally came back out of hiding. He had sharpened his dented, rusted old butcher knife for when he was ready to start his hunt for the nights. Now the hunt begins. Elsewhere, Jane was strolling down the now darkened streets of her local area. There were less people around at night. Well, I mean, it's Halloween. Like, you'd expect there to be more people around at night. Jane then noticed the same shape she earlier that day walking down an alleyway. She earlier what? She what earlier? She followed him until the shape reached a small group of thugs. Jane hid behind a nearly wall and looked to the side slightly. What a near? It's like is it like one wall that's not completely built? It's just that one wall that just stands out because you know it's made for cover. The group of 4 spotted Michael Myers and started walking toward him slowly. Michael was staring them all. He was staring them all. The first member brought out a baseball bat and went to hit Myers across the side of his head with it. Before it reached Michael, Myers gripped the thug by the throat and yanked the bat out of their trembling hand. So wait, it says, Jane put her hand over her mouth in fear as the Shape stuck the thug at the side of their neck with the baseball bat, killing them instantly. Jane then watched in horror as the Shape threw his first victim at another thug, with knocking them into a steel bin head first. Jesus Christ. Oh God, Jane quietly said to herself. The Shape then drew... The Shape... Them? I had to look at that really closely. It said them. The Shape them drew his knife out of the pocket of his navy blue mechanic suit. Oh, now it's blue. He then walked up the third thug and slit his throat wide open. The remaining thug started to strike Myers at the shoulder with a steel pole. Jane had decided that she had enough and tried to find out way out of the alleyway. As Jane was starting to leave, she witnessed Michael with his arm around the remaining thug's neck. "Stop!" Jane cried out loud. Myers just tilted his head in confusion. Jane started to tremble. "Please," she muttered. "Stop." Michael then straightened his neck and plunged his knife into the remaining thug's stomach and ripped their insides out when he tore his knife out of their chest captivity. Oh man, their chest captivity. It's like everything is being held captive inside everyone's body. It's like, I don't know, it's keeping them alive. Jane couldn't help but throw up. Myers then threw the thug's corpse to the side and proceeded to start walking towards Jane. Jane tried to find an escape route, but the Shape caught up with her. Myers then lifted Jane off her feet by her throats. Jane started to choke and was trying to loosen Myers' grip on her neck. Eventually, the Shape threw Jane forwards on the concrete pavement. Oh man, the spelling of this story is phenomenal. Jane yelped in pain as she fell to the ground. She then noticed Myers was still walking towards her. The only sound the Shape was making was deep breathing from under his mask. Jane got up to her feet, but a sharp pain went through her when she stood up. She tried to run away, but she was limping. She was limping away instead of running away. Myers still proceeded to stalk Jane. Oh my god. I don't know what it is with this story. I love it right now. I love this story. Elsewhere, Jeff was trying to find Jane. "Where the fuck is she?" he muttered to himself. Jeff then heard the scream of a female in the distance. Jeff turned around. "Who the fuck?" Jeff mumbled. He then caught sight of Jane limping towards his old house. He was now smirking. "Now's my chance," he chuckled. Jeff proceeded to follow to Jane to his old home. Okay. Jeff then noticed a figure that was unfamiliar to him, but Jane knew it was Michael Myers. No shit! Are they assuming we automatically forgot who's chasing Jane? Jeff proceeded to walk towards the Shape. When Jeff got close to the Shape, they just stared at each other. Insert saxophone music here. Jane looked back at them both from a distance and stopped moving. Jeff spoke first. "Don't try that Halloween shit with me," he grunted. Michael continued to stare blankly at Jeff, still breathing deeply. Jeff then spat in Michael's face and started to go after Jane. He spit on his mask. It's not really directly on his face. Unless Jeff's aim is so precise that he managed to make it go through the eye hole onto his face. That is extreme precision right there. Myers then wiped the spit off of his chalk white mask and then started walking towards Jeff. Jane saw Myers nearing Jeff. "Jeff!" she yelled. "Behind you!" "Huh?" Jeff questioned Jane as he turned to end up facing the shape. Michael then grabbed Jeff by the throat and threw him to the side. Jane was now more worried than ever. The shape then walked towards Jeff's body and raised his knife to viciously mutilate his body. Jane couldn't let this happen and threw a rock at Myers' back. Michael then turned back at Jane and started to walk towards her again. Jane then started limping again. Oh man. When Myers was near Jeff's old, rotten home, well damn, critic much? Jeff stood up and ran towards Myers. He then leaped and plunged his knife into the shape's shoulder shortly before yanking it out. Okay. "Back off, freak," Jeff yelled at Michael. "Jane's my target." And then you hear Michael say, "No, my target." The shape collapsed. Jeff then ran into his old house and blocked the door when he got in. "That fucker isn't getting in here," Jeff chuckled. Jane was hiding in the upstairs wardrobe, but Jeff didn't know this. Outside, the shape Rouse? It's spelled R-O-U-S-E. I think it's... Rouse? The shape roused up from the ground and started walking to the home Jeff had entered. Jeff saw this and noticed the door was still blocked. "Let's see that freak interrupt me now," Jeff told himself. Jeff then walked upstairs, trying to find Jane. There's like so many like. I think the person hit the enter button, hit the enter key like 6 times. "Where the fuck are you, bitch?" Jeff yelled at Jane. Well, he's more yelling towards Jane, not yelling at her, because that would then assume that he already found her. Jane was trembling inside the wardrobe. "I'm not gonna hurt you, Jane," Jeff tried to reason with her. Jane was now less scared. She thought she could trust Jeff. What? Then he said it, a phrase that became an image stuck in Jane's mind, and it made Jane's fears even more horrific. "I'm just gonna bash your brains right the fuck in." This person was watching The Shining. This person must really love The Shining. I love The Shining. I love that movie, but the fact that you had to pull that onto this kind of story, that doesn't even work, to be honest. Jeff started. I think he meant to say stated. "I'm also gonna rip your insides out with my bare hands." The tears were now streaming down Jane's pale face. The shape then barged the weak wooden door of the house down. Jeff looked back downstairs to see Michael. How the fuck did he get through that door? So, is this door in particular supposed to be, like, reinforced? I know you're supposed to barricade it. I know that's what you did. But you made it sound like that this is the most strong door that this house has. Jeff mumbled to himself. The shape surveyed the room of the home he had entered before, heavily breathing under the mask. Jeff tried to move further near the shape, but he stepped on a creaky, rotten floorboard and it made a loud creaking sound. Myers heard this and he swiftly turned his head to face Jeff. The shape then started walking up the stairs towards Jeff. Jeff also started walking towards Myers, but when Michael got close to Jeff, he grabbed Jeff and threw over the banister of the top floor of his house. Jeff had ceased moving. Michael then tried to find Jane. Ah, shit's getting real now, isn't it? When Michael entered a bedroom, he could hear faint whimpering coming from the wardrobe in the room. How convenient that he managed to find Jane in the first try. Jane could hear both footsteps and heavy breathing, but she couldn't tell if it was Jeff or the shape. Then, at a moment's notice, Michael's arm burst through the right door of the wardrobe. Jane started to scream and cry in fear. Michael was still breathing deeply. Because we gotta reassure that Michael is still breathing very deeply when he's doing this shit. Downstairs, Jeff could hear Jane scream from upstairs. We know! We understood that. Leave her alone, you son of a bitch! Jeff yelled at Myers as he ran upstairs. Again, you're yelling towards Michael, you're not yelling at him. Myers got distracted by Jeff's demand. Jane knew this was her chance and started to untie a metal clothes hanger. Aw, shit, here we go. Myers then saw Jeff and started walking towards him. Jane slowly opened the wardrobe's left door, taking the metal hanger with her. Jeff started throwing insults at Myers. I want to know what insults are going to be said. Michael started tilting his head and raised his knife. Jane then pierced Michael's neck with the clothes hanger. You motherfucker! Jane yelled at Myers as she yanked the hanger out of his neck. Michael grunted in pain and turned to face Jane. I think that was a very unintentional rhyme there. Jeff then stabbed Myers in the back. Jane then began to tear off Michael's white mask. When Myers' mask was off, his horrifically mangled, burnt face was revealed. Jane fell back in terror as she watched Myers stare blankly at her whilst pulling his mask back on to cover his scars. Jeff then started to constantly stab the shape in the back. Jeff then yanked the knife out of Myers' back after stabbing him 10 times and used all his strength to shove Myers to the ground. Why not go the whole 9 yards and be like Julius Caesar? Well, his disciples just stab him 23 times. No, it was over 100, I believe so. No, it was 23. It was 23. I'm having a mind fart. But yeah, go the whole 9 yards, Jeff. Is it over, Jeff? Jane whimpered to Jeff. Jeff then ran up to Jane and got her up to her feet. Yeah, Janie. The person you're trying to kill, you're helping right now, and you call her Janie. Jeff began. It's over. Jeff and Jane began to make out of nowhere. Straight to the point. I'm so sorry for everything I've done to harm you, Janie. Oh my fucking... I hate that so much now. I hate the fact that you're just calling her Janie right out of the blue. Jeff mumbled to Jane. Whilst Jeff was holding Jane in his arms, Jane slowly took Jeff's knife out of his hand and raised it up high. One more thing, Jeff, Jane mumbled. What is it, Jane? Jeff asked. Go to hell, you bastard, Jane whispered in Jeff's ear. I know it said whispered, but again, I'm not giving a shit about this story. Jane then pierced Jeff's back with the knife she had stolen. Jeff screamed in pain. Whilst Jane was holding the knife firmly in Jeff's back, Myers quickly rose up from the ground and turned to face Jane. He was staring directly at her. Jane's fear of the shape was growing larger with each passing moment. Jane's grip on her knife had loosened. Why would you loosen your grip? Jeff felt this and shoved Jane. Okay. Jane went through the weak, rotting wooden wall of the home and fell over the balcony. Wow. Oh, that was something. Again, straight to the point. Jeff yanked the knife from his back and rushed over to the balcony. Little did Jeff know Michael Myers was following him. Oh man, I have tears in my eyes this whole time. Oh boy. Jeff looked over the balcony and saw Jane's body lying completely still. No! Jeff screamed. And you're still worried about her. Michael then barged Jeff over the balcony and Jeff fell on top of Jane. Jesus. That's really gotta hurt though. Michael looked over the balcony before entering the home once again. Okay, what? Outside, Jeff and Jane regained conscious. They regained conscious. Jane noticed Jeff was on her and Jane blushed. Why? Jeff then kissed Jane. Why? Jane's blush went a deeper red as she kissed Jeff. Why? I'm questioning this entire thing. Like, I know the internet's onto the whole Jeff and Jane shipping, you know, I get that. But the fact of the matter is that you're really pushing it that, oh, they're a thing here. Oh, man, this is, oh, jeez. I'm sorry for trying to kill you, Jeff, Jane mumbled. Oh, I'm sorry I robbed your bank. But can I still have the money? Before Jeff could forgive Jane, Myers crashed through the back door, which scared Jane and startled Jeff. It's Jane that gets the full effect, but Jeff is just a startle. Oh my god. Michael continued to heavily breathe as he tilted his head. Again, reassured that he's deeply breathing under that mask. Jeff got to his feet and ran up to Myers and started to stab Michael over and over again in the chest. Michael then fell to the ground. Jeff then threw his knife near Jane and walked over to Michael and pulled Michael's mask off. Jane looked at Myers' zombie-like face for a few minutes. It's not zombie-like, it's just burnt. But I guess. My god, you have a face not even a mother could love, Jeff said. He is one to talk. Myers then gripped Jeff by the throat and threw him against the wall. Jane started screaming for help. Why? Myers heard Jane screaming and pulled his mask back on and grabbed his knife. He then started walking towards Jane. The sound of police cars then sounded and Jane and Michael could hear. What? Myers then walked off into the fog. It was foggy now? When did it get foggy? And Jane started walking onto the street screaming. 1 hour later, Jesus, Jane was caught up by a police officer who asked her why she was screaming. It took an hour? It took an hour for police? He killed him, Jane mumbled. Who killed who, sweetie? The officer asked. I'll take you to him, Jane mumbled in reply. At Jeff's home, Jeff woke up. No, it's Barley. It says Barley. Barley alive. He noticed the shape was dragging him somewhere. What the fuck do you think you're doing? Jeff demanded. He got no response from Michael. No shit. The police officer and Jane then entered the home to see Myers gripping Jeff by the head, with his hand over Jeff's mouth. Michael Myers, put him down now, the officer demanded. Myers tilted his head. Has Michael done this before? Jane asked the officer. He killed his sisters and 25 people in cold blood, the officer grimly replied. Jane was now terrified. Now you're terrified? Michael, stop! Jane cried out through tears of sadness. I don't get this fucking relationship. I don't. Michael straightened his neck as he plunged his knife into Jeff's stomach. Jane screamed and threw up as she watched Myers pull Jeff's insides out. Oh, we're pulling this again, aren't we? Myers then threw Jeff's corpse to the side. The officer tried to gun down Michael, but Myers just shrugged off the damage from the gunshots and stabbed the police officer in the chest. Myers then stared blankly at Jane for what seemed like forever. Please, Michael, Jane stuttered. Please don't kill me. Myers stared at her for longer. Oh dear. Until turning his head to face outside. Michael then started walking away from the home. Why? Jane then crawled over to Jeff's corpse with tears streaming down her cheeks. Jeff? Jane stuttered. Jane, Jeff croaked. Yes? Jane spoke, trying not to start crying. She's already crying. I love you, Jeff said. Always remember that. Why does this have to happen? Again, I don't get this relationship at all. I love you too, Jane started to cry. Jeff then kissed Jane one last time before he died. Jane burst out into tears. Since that one Halloween night, Jane has vowed that one day, she would one day find a way to kill Michael Myers. Holy shit. Guys, this story is amazing. It's amazingly terrible. Oh my god. I don't know. I never got the Jeff-Jane relationship. Yeah, they're both killers. That's like putting Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees as a ship because they both kill and they wear masks. Oh my god. The spelling in the story is terrible. I don't get the grammatic. I don't get the grammar in the story at all. Oh man. Well, that was Jeff the Killer versus Michael Myers. I hope you liked it. Jeez, this ends Crappypasta April 2017. Guys, thank you so much for sticking around this whole month. It's been fun. But next week's story, it's gonna be scary again. We're going back to the scary, folks, because since April's done, we gotta keep on going with the scares. So, guys, thank you for listening.